system and power. So like just by looking at the title, it's gonna be a little bit confusing. Which part is what, but I'm gonna explain a little bit more detail in the next slide. So let's look at the very first reason. The very first reason is because it is there. The very first one. So what is the point they want to say? The grammar points in the course book may not all be equally important for the particular class, because it's like in there they use the example kind of like, why are you hiking this mount, the mountain? That is why like they are answering because it is there. And actually I think from my point of view, they want to focus on the why question, and then also they use the answer by using the because, kind of like that. But the thing is like it not be equally important for the particular class. So for some class, this grammar point might be important. However, for the another type, for example, young learner, adult learner, for based on those kind of class, the importance of the grammar points will also be different. Because all the books also might be written from the different purpose, and then also different environment, different mother tongue, and then so by based on those things, they will also have a different problem. For example, the book is for the target is business English, then we won't be able to use it for the general English. All the grammars will also totally different. If that is focusing on the general English, they will use the grammar points a little bit, focusing on the informal or the daily usage. But for the business English in the letter writing, they will focusing more on the formal grammar points. Kind of like instead of asking can I, using could I, those kind of tips. So what kind of grammar points do we need to choose is really important. We need to base on the student's needs. In that way, we will be able to get the main points. If not, if we're gonna only use like blindly go through the syllabus from the left to right, set to the end, then it will be changed. It will be conveyed to the bad points of the teaching grammar. That is the first point. So like for this point is that they have made an experiment by the Hirsch and the Lakers. So for this one is like they based on the mistake made by the grade secondary school children. All the mistake has been made by the students, but we let them graded by the Greek teacher of English, and then also the British teacher of English, non-teachers, the like non-native teacher. But at the time, they need to grade based on the serious, like least serious gonna be 1 to the most serious to the 5. At the time, those kind of score. So we can see that on the left side is the mistake that the students make, but the score given by the Greek teacher and then also the British non-native teachers are totally different. We agree to 1 to the cinema by car. So for the Greek teacher, they think that is really serious. That's why they give 4.6. But from the point of the British native teachers, then they think like that is only 2.2, not that much, like kind of like serious, like the Greek teacher thinks. And then also another thing is that we didn't knew what had happened. For this one also, they are totally have a different opinion. Again, 4.4 and 1.8. This one even have more difference. Another one, this is from the wild, we decided to go home. Same way, they think the oppositely. The people are too many, so, and the cars are too many, 3.0, 4.3. The best was hit in front of 2.6 and then 4.3. There are many accidents because we haven't brought, like kind of like in here, they want to mean broad roads, so 2.4 and 4.1. And then strangely, from my point of view, my scoring point is gonna be really similar with the Greek teacher, maybe because that we are kind of like from the point of the non-native speaker point of view. Like for the grammar rules, we mostly focus on the grammar rules, but for the native teacher point of view, like a British native, they mostly focus on the kind of like natural, how much they becoming natural. So for example, here, the best word hit in front of even though the grammar pattern is wrong, we can know what does that mean right away. So for those kind of situation, like we think from our side is like kind of like at least one from the Greek teacher point of view, but from the native one, they think that is like a 4.3, kind of like a really serious case, because 5 gonna be the most serious. That is how much differ the teachers thinks. Those one, we can see the criteria are that for the native teacher, they give the highest marks to the mistake that is really impede their understanding. So like kind of like their assessment is like very much in the intelligibility. But for the non-native teacher, they seem to more distracted by the infringements of the common grammar rules, like kind of like basic mistakes are really important. So like basic grammars are important, and then also another part is like intelligibility is the more important. Those kind of criteria we can see for the native and the non-native teachers. And so that is for the first part. So the second reason is that it's tidy. So how may attend to the systematics by like teaching the semantics field, like subordinate, hypernames, national functional category, and then like a vocabulary remain like, so for those things it's like grammar is really systematics. That's why. So we can also assume that learning grammar is a lot simpler than the learning a language. Just by seeing that fact, we can also assume that even if we know a grammar, it doesn't mean we can speak that language. We know this language really well. We can assume it this way. And then, so for the grammar, is like presented as a limited series of the tidy things, like student can learn, and then after that they can apply an exercise and then also tick off one by one. So that is the how much really easy for the from the point of the teacher view and then also student views. But for that, we can also say that's gonna be one of the bad reasons for the teaching English, since that is really a lot simpler. But at the time, the ultimately vocabulary also remain a big medal. So let's look at the third one is the taskable. So the good task can tell you that how you are doing, and then also like until where you learned, and then also which level you have reached. All the things can be tested based on the really good one. And then also at the same time, it can show the children are learning, and then also how the teachers are really teaching properly or not. Everything can be seen according to the result of the test. And then also for the text, we can also use it to rank the learner. Like once they pass this mark, it's gonna be that this level. That's why for the many school, they have used the like kind of like that is we call it the test for the placement test. They have it in that way we'll be able to rank the learners and then also try to put them in the correct one, but designated the success and then also the creative. So what's happening is really time consuming and then also difficult to design, and then also admire text, because like for this task, we will need to measure overall progress and attainment to be able to tell the how you are doing, and then also how the students do, how the students learn, how which level, how like is that the teacher is working well, teaching well, the students are learning well. So to be able to measure overall one, the progress, the whole progress is really not an easy one to be able to design the task to be able to cover all of that. That is not a reason. So for number 4 is that we can use grammar as a security blanket. So grammar rules are sometimes it's really shied out like a bag. And so those given the students a feeling they can understand and control what's going on. So for example, present tense, present simple, we can use it to retell our habit and then our daily activities, kind of like that. So from the student point of view, they would think like it's really controllable. Like, and then also at the same time, their seriousness will be also going down. Okay, as long as I know this rule, I won't be making any more mistakes. This kind of feeling will be given to the students. So it's gonna be a little bit illusory. So it can be account for the proportions of the input material, and then also it can also add the learner's confidence. So of course, learner confidence is also not a bad thing, but still the security blanket aspect can lead the students and teacher to concentrate on grammar. And then what happened are the less kind of value, but equally important than the aspect of the language. However, after learning the grammar, the students will be able to feel kind of like this can be the controllable, those kind of feeling what we get, and then also we can boost their confidence. That's why we call it, we are just trying to use it as a metaphor and saying security blanket. Another one is, so that is them. For the foreign language teachers are trying to spend a lot of time for like learning about the tense and aspect, and then also uses of article, relative clause, those kind of things will be used, focusing more. So it will naturally feel that these things are matter a good deal, and then it can need to be then incorporated in their own teachings. So in that way, what can happen is that the tendency of the earlier generation to the overvalue grammar can be the prejudice. That's the point we have to take to consider well. Sorry. Okay. So another reason is that you have to teach the whole system. The grammar is the accumulation of the different elements. So some are more systematic than the others, and then also some linked together really tightly and loosely. At the same time, some are really independent, also the detachable. So once we teach the grammar, we need to teach the whole system and then also the different elements. So the very first thing is how much of this the students know already from their mother tongue, because like some are in here, they also give the point. The Japanese speakers know the main facts about the English article used before their his or her first lesson because of the mother tongue. But for the Japanese learner, they are not, because their mother tongue is not related with the English at all, those kind of things. And then what they have already known is the first thing important. So they have known about the article. Then how about the rest? Are they important, and which one is the most important? And then also how much time we can give it for those kind of things is like should teach by the select subsystem. So and then like if we gonna ignore, and then because like they want to say is like if we gonna ignore, if we need to ignore to be able to teach the whole system, because we need to give the whole thing like a tactics, and then also give it to the students from the point of the teachers. Is the point. So the last one is the power. So what is the power? So when we say the power, so of course that is from the power point of from the teacher's view. So how the teacher may have a worse accent than some of the students, even if like because some students are already have a really good environment to be able to speak English since they were young. Those kind of situation could be happen. However, in the grammar class, they are right because the grammars are really complicated rules, and then also they have an archaic terminology. So like even if in the classroom there is a native speaking child, however, they won't be able to talk coherently and confidently with a really correct accuracy. And so at the time, the teachers have the powers because the teachers know all the rules. So in here is more look like not concerning with the fluency, accents, those kind of things. So that is another bad reason. So because like societies, and then also another thing is like society really like grammar, because grammar is already included the rules, and then so based on the rule we can decide the students correct or not. So in that way, education will not be the neutral at all. The teaching methods will reflect attitude to the social control and the power relationship. So that is how the powers can be work as in the grammar while we are teaching grammars. So that's the things for the 7 reasons. So then what are the 2 good reasons for the teaching grammars. So of course, the very first thing is the comprehensibility. So without the certain structures, it's going to be really difficult to make a comprehensible sentence. So for example, for English, it's the subject, verb, object. But if the student is saying kind of like subject, object, verb, so it's going to be really, it won't be comprehensible in some of the situation. When they are really young, might be okay. For the young learner, might be okay. But for the adult learner, if they are going to keep using in the different structure, opposite structure, the wrong structure, then they won't be. So that's gonna be the one of the reason we have to teach this grammar to the students. From the point of the student, also they becoming really important. Another one is acceptability. So what is acceptability? That is that a person who speaks badly may not be taken seriously. However, it may be considered the educated or the stupid. So that is the how society thinks. That's why in the previous slide also I put that society really like grammar. So that based on the how the learner, how the speaker, how the learner is learning, and then also it's gonna be effect on the consider as a this kind of way from the point of the society. So those gonna be the another two reasons that we should learn, and a good reason to be able to teach for the teaching grammars, and then also from the point of the view of the learning student point of view also. That's gonna be all about the 7 reasons, and then also 7 bad reasons, and then also the 2 good reasons for the teaching grammars. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Nand.
Yes.
So yeah, so Sarfaraz and Sadaf. So we decided that we start earlier. We were waiting for you two, but yeah, you two have to come up. So I decided to ask Nand to present first. Yeah, I hope that's okay with you too. So now, I think one of you will present. So based on the order in the Google Sheet, so let me have a check. I think Sarfaraz, you should present after this, and then Sadaf.
Okay, sir. So may I start?
Yes, Sadaf, go ahead. Oh, it's not Sadaf. Sorry, Sarfaraz. Sorry, yeah, Sarfaraz.
Okay, sir. Sir, may I start?
Yeah,
Sir,
go
sir.
ahead. Yeah, please share your screen and start immediately.
Thank you so much. Is it visibility on?
Yes, it's on screen.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Today, as all of you know that we are presenting the presentation about the development of teaching materials. So my topic was from the book chapter number 9, implementing the task-based language teaching. So overall in this chapter, the project, our detailed discussion about the project or the task-based language teaching is given. So I will tell you about all those descriptions, and one of the most important thing is that I noted that in this practically in this chapter we are given a kind of project that we can apply a number of students for improving their target language. Starting with just introduction in this chapter, initially the syllabus were divided into the 2 main types, and the first syllable was the synthetic syllable and second syllable was the analytical syllable. So in synthetic syllable, the segments are the segments. The synthetic syllable type basically segment the target language into the discrete linguistics items such as phonetics, phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics. On the other hand, analytical syllable generally represent the educational value system, and it is just stresses maybe in terms of motivation on the growth and the self-realization of the individual. So we can say that synthetic syllable may work on the at the academic level, while on the other hand, analytical syllable may motivate the students in order to grow and progress in their academic record. So here, one of the writers, names him in 1995, mentions a type of line in this chapter that tasks also provide input to the learners and opportunity for the meaningful language use. So both of which are generally considered valuable in implementing the language acquisition. So because of this, the type of education, the text birth is known as a problem posed type of education. And the purpose of dialogue here is to stimulate the new ideas, opinions, and the perceptions rather than to simply exchange them. A number of students usually in the classes.
Yeah, sorry, Sarvaras, my computer has gone erratic, so I was not listening to you. Is this the first or the second slide?
It's first slide.
No, this is the first slide should be the title. So can you go back to the title? Yes, I think I missed this. Yeah. So sorry, Sarvaras. Yeah. Can you just repeat the presentation? Very sorry, I could not hear you. I could not see, so I just got my computer back up. Sorry for that. Yeah.
It's okay, sir. Sir, may I start again?
Thank you, sir, Varas.
It's okay, sir. May I start again? Yeah. So as I was telling you that in this chapter, we will be learning about the different projects and the type of practical implemented teaching methods are given. So first and foremost, in this chapter, I saw that two types of syllabus were divided. Number one was the synthetic syllabus, and second was the analytical syllabus. So synthetic syllabus is basically segments the target language into the discrete linguistic atoms. So discrete linguistic atoms are that are targeted in the target language are maybe the phonetics, phonology, morphology, or the syntax. While on the other hand, the ultimate purpose of analytical syllabus is to present the growth or the self-realization or the self-directed learning, or maybe the collaborative learning skills of the students. Or in other words, we can say that this may work in the terms of both intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. So another type is known as the analytical syllabus. And one of the writers named Shane in 1995 mentions that tasks also provide the input to the learners and opportunity for the meaningful language use. So both of which are generally considered valuable in promoting the language acquisition. So this presents a type of education which is known as the problem posed type of education, and the purpose of dialogue is to stimulate the new ideas or the generation of opinions, perceptions, rather than simply to exchange them. It is seen in number of classes that while projecting or while collaborating, even in peer activities, usually students extend their ideas, their ideas rather than brainstorming new ideas. So here, the generalization of new ideas is stressed as a student could get the creative skills. The silent characteristics of analytical syllabuses are five main important, and those are all of these silent characteristics are just present the kind of trick to know about the analytical syllabus. And first is the first makes the distinct kind of distinction from the synthetic syllabus, that they are primarily concerned with how materials are learned. Here we are not giving the question that what kind of materials are learned, how materials are learned. Present this question basically gives us a type of opportunity to know about the creativity. So here we are all we are given a type of opportunity to work in a very environment without any pressure or stress, but just work on the basis of creativity. And secondly, some degree of negotiation between the learners and the teachers occur. So negotiation and interaction and collaborative learning, all of these elements are major part of analytical syllabus, and the content is fundamentally defined as what the subject means to be learned. So here, what learners bring to the subject in terms of knowledge and interest. Knowledge and interest are the two keywords that are just stressed in this type of syllabus. And secondly, assessment is partially decided. It is based on the criteria of success rather than fully. So here the point is this, that assessment partially is decided because in this type of syllabus, the teachers let their students to decide or how they perform in their classes. So partially other parts, they give the students a kind of opportunity to decide about their performance, whether they may arrange a type of activities, as I earlier told, peer education or collaborative learning and so on. And lastly, the instructional situation is far more cooperative than the more traditional teacher-fronted classrooms. Here, the teacher just direct the students to know about the situation rather than giving them overall trick that what to do or not. So here, the students are stressed to work on their own basis. We may say, in other words, that here, what I have observed in my personal observation, self-directed learning is key to success in these types of syllabus. And the task-based syllabus is the yes. Here we saw analytical type of syllabus, but analytical type of syllabus has another main type, which is known as a task-based syllabus. So task-based syllabus is also a type of analytical syllabus, and this type of syllabus is derived from what is known about the second language acquisition. Here we are given the track of second language acquisition in task-based syllabus, because in this type of syllabus, as the name indicates, students teachers give their students kind of targets, kind of task. The students are given a limited or maybe period of time to achieve those, and the task also provides the input to the learners and opportunity for the meaningful language use, as according to saying that both of which are generally considered valuable in promoting the language acquisition. So task, these are the tasks that give the opportunity to the students. And another point is that this may force the student to pay the close attention. It also builds the interaction and relationship between both form and meaning. But in other type of syllabus, we see that there is just attention given to the form. But in this task-based syllabus type of syllabus presents the also present the relationship between the meaning and form. So cognitive capacities are also generally developed in this type of syllabus, and potential is here. The students, the potential or the strength and energy play an important role in ECL or EFL curriculum. So this is a type of syllabus, analytical syllabus, type of analytical syllabus. Here, this is the project I really enjoyed while moving to the overall paper, because the project I saw that it was given type of practical examples, as I was feeling that I am in the class and the students are divided in different groups. So the project, to tell you about the project, this is student generated action research. The name of project is student generated action research, and the project is Fxtended Task project, and it was implemented in Japanese universities with approximately 340 first-year students enrolled in their second semester. So the course was related to the speaking skills, and students were overall focused on the generated action research, and overall the period of project was 12-week semester. And in this project, the students were not just engaged in the type of activities related with the speaking skills, but they were also engaged in unrelated activities that were not related with the project, because this might be for their examination, or this might be in order to bring the research result clearly. So these are the main points of the project. And lastly, the projects requires the learner to work in the groups, and all of those 340 students were divided into the different types of groups, and further even they divided in their subgroups in order to bring the research result. So here the detail is given. Each group member is required to administer the questionnaire and interview minimum of 10 people. So in a group, it was the responsibility of every individual to at least conduct a questionnaire or interview a minimum of the 10 people. So the extensive data and the learners have to present in the class. Overall, after the conclusion, at the end of the project, the students were given the task to present the research into the formal presentations in the class. The time they had limited between the 5 to 8 minutes. So general objective of the project are all of the all are present in front of you, and these objectives are the core objectives of the project. And all of these projects basically in background work on the work for the second language acquisition, or for the improvement of second language acquisition. And I will not read line by line or word by word, just to tell you that the ultimate purpose of these all objectives was to improve the learners' different types of skills, whether confidence, eye contact, gestures, postures, or the presentation skills, all are while in the stress, or even depression, or even while presenting. A number of students have so many faults while presenting presentation. There most of the times they feel lack of the confidence. So all of these skills are involved in this project. So all of these skills are given were improved by the students while working in this project. So this is the 12-week plan of this overall project, and how teacher has worked. Overall, the detailed description was given in the paper. Week 1, week 12, week 3, till week 12. So I will tell you one by one, but just because of lack of time, just to give you background about what happens in the week 1, what happens in week 2, how teacher has managed, how they conducted the project. Starting with the first week, the learners were introduced about the project. They were told what to do, what kind of activities they will be involved, and what kind of presentation they will, and what would be technology, or what type of presentation on would it be the slide presentation or not. So all of these tasks were introduced to the learners. And lastly, they were also given the homework in order to divide themselves into the 4 main groups before coming to their second next class, and also before coming to the forthcoming class. And they were given the opportunity to brainstorm or generate new types of ideas or new types of topics, as they could work on their project as they could select their topic. In week 2, that teachers check their ideas, and also give them the number of instructions, and also told them in the right way what to do or not. And in the last of week 12, they were given the homework that each group must write one-to-one paragraph explanation for the topic. And they were basically in week 12, basically the teacher was pushing them to brainstorm new types of ideas, and I think what I noticed that he was the role of teacher was to push them to the kind of creativity without any pointed or might be the purpose of teacher was to encourage them without pointing out their mistakes, or he or she has left them in a free environment. So it was the week 2, and in week 3, the learners discussed the suitable target groups, whoever were friends, or even whoever were suitable with each other. They managed to just with each other, and tries their hard to administrate their questionnaire, because in this week, in the end of this week, as in the previous week, they were given the homework that they have to write 1 or 2 paragraphs like previous week. But in this week, uh, they were given the direction that without the with limited period of time, 2 days, or the and fourth before coming to the fourth class, they have to submit their work, and instructors rate their ideas and give them the feedback how to write or not. So overall, gradually we see that the teacher was pushing them toward the line of creativity. And in week 4, the groups brainstorm the main points, and they investigate the number of questions, the topics, and with the directions, and kind of so many efforts. Basically, lastly, they in week 4, they decided to brought different types of ideas, and in the end of week 4 too, they were also given the homework, and in this week they were given the tele question for the possible inclusion on their questionnaire, and submit them to instructed by the email. And here they were given the 10 the 12 questions. So the at the end of this week, when coming to the fifth week, the instructor read their ideas and check, and also give them the feedback by me. In fifth week, the group practice in the interviewing, entering the different audiences using their questionnaire and the questions from their class members. And in this week 5, their purpose was to find out how well the questions they have formulated, are they authentic or validated to their topics or not. So here they were checking with the help of their instructors, or in their group discussions, or in their peer learning, whatsoever the activities were involved in the project, and they were deciding ultimately for their questionnaire. So in this, at the end of this week too, they were given the end of this class too, they were given the homework to rewrite their questionnaires as they needed, and send the modified questionnaire to the instructors. So and many of the groups, there was the improvement was needed. Also because of this, the week 5 was held. And in week 6, the learners were instructed to begin gathering the data. Here they arranged overall their questionnaire, and they began to interview minimum of the 10 people. In week 6 they were fully prepared, and 3-member group presented the interview minimum of the 30 people. So in this way, just as a 10, just as a minimum, just as a individual group, are the other groups, all of those groups made three main groups made in the project, worked a lot, and they interviewed the total 30 persons, and all the data was collected till the week 8th of the semester. So as we saw that there were the 12 week moving to the 7th week. In 7th week, learners just simply presented their reports to the other group members. They had the exchange, and after brainstorming, they had the different type of they utilize the different type of skills. After arranging their data, they exchange their data between the groups, and here they instructed with each other. In other words, we can say that this is the peer education. They exchange their ideas and they instructed in their they instructed each other and presented the and went through the week 8. So in week 8, basically they compare the interview data. Here in week 7 they just exchange the data, but in week 8 the different types of trends were looked. They were looking for the new things, and uh, in week 8 they were also giving the indication that they will have to present the presentations in between the week 10 to 11. So they were giving the homework in the end of the week, that learners meet the outside of the class and continue their analysis and categorizing their questionnaire data. So by choosing their plan, by choosing their presentation, they have to by choosing their plan, they have to use their presentation in the following class. So they were given kind of alert here that they have to be prepared for the presentation in next weeks. So in week 9, instructors clearly explain them that they have to present their presentations, whatever they have researched, exchanged, whatever they shared between them, they have to present between the 5 to 8 minutes. Here, in week 9, the instructor also gave them the instructions about the eye contact gestures or the confidence, or how to present the voice projection or the presentation. So overall skills were developed to the students, and in this week they were shown week 1 are different types of different video in order to analyze the terms of organization, the visual aids. So overall, the presentation skills were stressed in week 9. So in week 10, half of the group makes the formal presentation and presented their results, while the presentation was on the videotaped, and each group member individually were responded for viewing the video. So this is what in week 10 is already mentioned in plan, that we in between the week 10 and week 12 was to present their project between the 5 to 8 minutes. And yes, in week 11, the remaining groups, maybe 2 or 1 groups, presented their formal presentation and the results. Once again, here the video tape was used, and each group member viewed their video, and this is just tell you that how they worked about their project, what they did in week 1, week 2, and week 3. So lastly, in the end of the course, the instructions, after clear instruction direction, the evaluation and the results were given to the each students. How did they perform, what was their role, and what kind of things they cope up. So learners complete their course by course evaluations, including their questions specifically related to the projects. And overall, in this way, they completed their project by researching the different types of ideas and topics. Yes, before starting their topic, how did they move toward their topic, and what kind of strategies and technical skills they applied in order to choose the topics. The learners had the primary control over the topic to investigate. And secondly, the self and the peer initiated topics. Yes, they were working in the groups in a collaborative type of environment. So with the help of teachers' instruction, with the help of their group mates' instructions, they finally decided about their topics. And the final point was that also the instructor or the teacher who worked with them, or if this project is being applied in other school, that what instructor have to do, the instructor have to encourage the learners for choosing the topic, because Here instructions, instructor or the teacher wouldn't see their mistakes. They all will they all will brainstorm their new type of ideas. So in brainstorming, so there are number of skills that they have to work on, such as free writing, teamwork. So all of these skills they have to improve in order to work on this project. And then lastly, the classroom activity was embedded in the larger social context, as others members or the groupmates could also observe that what kind of research they have done. But between the research, they also saw their groupmates' research. Yes, and these are the example topics that they can think of, such as care of the elderly or the older men, dating high school girls, or the environment, marriage, and the single mother, the information society. So these all of these are just the example topics that these all types of topics can be thought for the project, because a topic must be related with the projection, a new kind of generalization of ideas. As a student could present in a free environment about their ideas, perception, or whatever opinions were coming. So before starting overall project, they need to focus on these types of skills. And lastly, in the discussion, there was the discussion about this project, that a positive aspect of the project, where the fundamental and the fundamental benefits of the tasks are given. There are so many fundamental benefits of this project, but all of those skills can be developed if students are divided into the properly divided into the different groups, and if they are working in a authentic order. So here we see that they are told that what the project does or does not, or they could build a kind of accurate language usage, or conformity oriented skills can be built up, or the particular structures are embedded. So overall, there are so many positive aspects of this project. It creates the along with these projects, there are numberless positive aspects of this project, such as developing their creativity, confidence, eye contact, gestures, or presentation skills, or public speaking skills, or the research skills, or how to set the questionnaire, or how to write in a proper manner, as they are starting with the free writing. So these were the pre-task activities they were involved. They were essential for providing adequate support for the learners in their attempts to deal with the series of the complex and challenging tasks. Yes, indeed, every task is not just simple, but every task is not just complex. So there are some tasks that are complex and challenging one. So they have to pass all those tasks, and along with these. They another pre-activity is that the activation of already existing skating. So yes, already experiences they have got, and already whatever wherever they have worked, or they might have a kind of interaction related with the other subjects or the academic materials. So they can apply and they can get benefit in this project. Yes, the final task was final pre-task activity was to potentially lead the learners to interpret the task in more fluent, in accurate environment. Yes, and another the part of the presentation is negotiation of the meaning. A negotiation of the meaning, basically, this is also one of the most important part of the presentation chapter. And what I have observed, that negotiation of meaning is very much important, because in this we were given the several type of conditions which written by the different scholars. So Here, the task generate the greater negotiation of meaning appear to be the more beneficial for the interlanguage development. Here, and when we read these all different types of conditions, we could see that the negotiation of meaning that are included in the projects related with the various junctures. So, as written at the first is given by the Comrade Dewey 1994, the first condition, second condition. So, first condition is that it is well known that when the learners work in the groups, far more negotiated instructions produced. And secondly, in this way, the second, third, and fourth, and all of these conditions are given. Yes, and communication strategies were also involved, and the communication the student had the opportunity to improve their communication strategies. A number of students are present in the class that do not have communication strategies. Here, this project also enabled the learners to move forward in their interlanguage development. They have the opportunity to improve their communication strategies. Yes, and the learners were not taught communication studies as part of the project, except as I mentioned that clearly they were not given the direction, but they had the opportunity to improve their strategies, and they have the opportunity to develop their confidence, and they have the opportunity to develop their overall skill, whether related with the in terms of analytical, technical, and communicative skills. The contextualized linguistic input was also given, and here the Comrade view defines it that it is an essential to bring the learner's attention the integrated nature of the language. Introducing isolated degrees atoms will result in the pragmatic dissonance and depriving the learners of the necessary pragmatic tools and rendering the process of meaning and making hard. This is the definition of contextualized linguistics input. The possible improvements, another part was the possible improvements to the project. Yes, there are so many improvements that can be brought in the project, and there are so many skills that can be advanced in the project. Whether in terms of teaching program, it can be improved, whether in terms of the curriculum syllabus, that can be improved, and even the section is given for measuring concerns are the areas for further improvement. There is the clear space for bringing the possible improvements to the project. And the fundamental problems with the task which were noted were the three number which are described by the Sakhan in 1998. The first is given that although very empirical indications
Sarfaraz.
Yes, sir.
Alvarez.
Yes, sir.
5 more minutes because we have to give time for Sadaf as well. Okay, so make the presentation quicker. 5 minutes. Got it?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay.
So these are the problems that fundamental problems that all of those are faced by the students and given in series. And the last one was also thirdly the finiteness, and this is also one of the most important problems that the student face. Secondly, increasing the focus on the form, and this is what that many of the students do not have focus towards the form, and they do not even relationship. They even don't know relationship between the form and meaning. So here also second notes that there are two contrasting approaches to using the task. The first is the structure oriented approach, and the second is a communicative oriented approach. The closure analysis of the major task was another topic, and here also Sakhan proposes the three dimensions for the analysis of the task. The first dimension involves the code complexity, and the second dimension cognitive complexity. Lastly, the third dimension was the communicative stress. Yes, another topic was the introducing the more flexibility into the curriculum. Here, the students were given the type of opportunity that they have the opportunity to introduce the flexibility in their curriculum, and the different type of instructions were given to the learners. Here, we see that approximately 340 learners were participating in the project and also based in class at TFL schools to fail scores. So here we see that all of those learners were given the flexible kind of flexibility in their curriculum. Yes, encouraging self-evaluation. Self-evaluation and encouraging is the key part, one of the key leading uh, section in the project, because without self-encouraging their self-evaluation, they could not work, and they were motivated, to work on their project, while engaging different assignments, while engaging different activities. Lastly, this is the conclusion, and the project ends. And the task-based project basically describes that the paper was well received by the majority of the learners in the course. Students who actively participated in the course, they were really well satisfied, and their paper was well received. However, the it was the project whatever they managed, it was at the high level, but they worked in a proper manner and they achieved their accomplished task. And the concern of overall this paper was the analytical syllabus. What type of role analytical syllabus does play in the classroom, or how students or the teachers working with each other can work on the analytical syllabus. So thank you so much for my presentation.
Yeah, thank you. Last presenter, Sada. You can
Yes,
share your
sir.
screen.
Yeah, sir, I have told Sarfraz that he will share the screen, or Stella. If you have time, then can you
So
please
say
share?
again.
Sir, I have told Sarfraz that he will share the screen, or Stella will share the screen.
All right.
Yeah.
Hello Stella, are you going to share, or?
Okay, Sarfraz, share it. We have no time to discuss now. Okay, thank you so much. So my project topic is a means to promote language in the content by the FREDRICKAL STOLLER. So as the title suggests, that this project is all about the promotion of the language in the content. So in introduction, we have in recent years, increasing number of the language educators have turned to content-based instruction and the project work to promote meaningful student engaging with the language and content learning. Okay, in second point, we have the through content-based instruction, learners develop language skills while becoming more knowledgeable citizens of the world. So this is about the learning language skills. And in point three, by integrating project work into the content-based classroom, educators create vibrant learning environments that require active student involvement, stimulate higher level thinking skills, and give students a responsibility for their own learning, as well as when incorporating project work into content-based classroom, instructors distance themselves from the teacher-dominated instruction and move towards creating a student community of inquiry involving authentic communication, cooperative learning, collaborative, and problem solving. In simple words, we can say that that is the group discussion that involve students to share their dialogues. So in number four, in this article based on the rationale for content-based instruction and demonstrate how project work can be integrated into content-based classroom. So in second slide, we will study. Can you change the slide? Okay. A rationale for content-based instruction. So the content-based instruction, that is also known as CBI, has been used in a variety of language learning contexts, although its popularity and the wider application have increased since the early decade of the 1990s. So numerous practical features of CBI make it an appealing approach to learning instruction. So CBI offer ideal conditions for language learning, for learning a new language or learning any other language. So in In other slide, we will learn about these CBI benefits. Can you please change the slide? Okay, thank you. So in CBI benefits, there are four basic findings from research in educational and the cognitive psychology that emphasizes the benefits of the content-based instruction that are worth noting. The very first point that we have in CBI benefits, the thematically organized material typical of content-based classrooms are easier to remember and learn. That was the point shared by Singer in 1990. And in number second, point, the presentation of the coherent and the meaningful information characteristic of well organized content based curricula leads to deeper processing and the better learning. That was the point shared by Anderson in 1919. So this the year was the same. So in third point, that was again shared by three philosophers, that were the Alexander Kulikovich and the Jeton in 1994. They said that there is a relationship between the student motivation and student interest. Coming outcomes of the content-based classroom and students' ability to process challenging material, recall information, and elaborate learning. So in number 4 point, we have again two professors, the philosophers, the Beriter and the Scardemilia. Sorry for mispronunciation. So they gave the point in 1993. They said that the expertise in a topic develops when learner reinvest their knowledge in sequence of progressively more complex tasks. So they were all focused on the how CBI or the hello.
We're hearing you.
Hello.
We're hearing you, Sadaf. You have
Okay,
a go.
Okay, sir. So in I was here that the CBI, the content based instruction was focusing on the meaningful information and the characteristics organized by the content based curricula and many other things. So in next slide, we will study. Yeah, please change the slide, Sarfraz. Okay, project work is a rational extensions of the content based instruction. Hello. Okay. Hello.
Yes, Sadaf, carry on.
Okay. Content-based instructions allows for the natural integration of the sound language teaching practices such as the alternative means of assessment, apprehensions learning, cooperative learning, integrated skill instruction, project work, scaffolding, strategy training, and the use of graphic organization. The very first point that we have in this slide is that some language professionals secured project work within class, group work, cooperative learning, or more elaborative task based activities so that they can learn language easily. So in second point, that is the project based learning should be viewed as a versatile vehicle for fully integrated learning and content learning, making it a visible option for language educators working in a variety of instructional settings, including general English, English for academic purpose, English for specific purpose, and English for occupational or vocational purposes, professional purposes. So in number 3 point, that is the in classroom where a commitment has been made to content learning as well as language learning, content based classroom project work is particularly effective because it represents a natural extension of what is already taking place in the class. So in this way, they can easily learn language. And number one, that is the project work is equally effective in teacher training courses. And this way, in a course on material development, a student generated handbook comprising generic exercises for language skills, practices at different levels of language English proficiency represent a useful and a practical project. So in next slide, that we have the primary characteristics of project work. So Here, project work has been described by the number of language educators. Some of them are including the Carter and the Thomas in 1986, and and many others. Although each of these educators has approached project work from a different perspective, project work in its various configurations shares the following features. The very first feature is that project work focuses on content learning rather than on specific language targets. Real world subject matter and topics of interest to students can become central to project. In number second feature, project work is students centered, though the teacher plays a major role in offering support and guidance throughout the process. So the main learning is occurs between the students rather than the teacher. So in third feature, we have the project work is cooperative rather than competitive, and the student can work on their own in small groups or as a class to complete a project, sharing resources, ideas, and expertise along the way. So fourth feature, we have the project work leads to the authentic integration of skills and processing of the information from the varied sources, mirroring real life tasks. And number fifth feature, the project work culminates in an end product. Example are the an oral presentation, a poster session, a bulletin board display, a report, or a stage performance that can be shared with others, giving a project a real purpose why they made the project. So the value of the project, however, lies not just in the final product but in the process of the working towards the end point. So in sixth point, we have the project work is potentially motivating, stimulating, empowering, and challenging too, because it usually results in building students' confidence, self-esteem, and autonomy, as well as improving students' language skills, content learning, and cognitive abilities. So in next slide, please. Project work and its various configurations. Project work can take an diverse configuration, the most important of them including the curricular objectives, course explanations, expectations, students' proficiency level, and students' interest, time, consent, and the availability of the material. So, a review of different types of projects will demonstrate the scope, versatility, and the adaptability of the project work. Project differs in the degree to which the teacher and student decide on the nature and the sequence of the project related activities. So, yeah. There are main types of projects that were proposed by Henry. The very first project name is that structured projects. Structured projects are determined, specified, and organized by the teacher in terms of topic, material, methodology, and presentation. The second project name is the unstructured projects that are defined largely by students themselves. And the third one is that the semi-structured projects that are defined and organized in part by the teacher and in part by the student. So these were the three types of projects. So in next slide, project work again. The slide is continue. So here are some of the features of the project work with its various configuration. Um, Project can be linked to real world concern. The second point tells that the project can also be linked to the stimulated real world issues. The third point suggests that the project can also be tied to student interest with or without real world significance. So, project can also differ in data collection techniques and the sources of information as demonstrated by these project types. The very first type is that research project, second one is the correspondence project, and the third one is the survey project. So projects may also differ in the ways that information is reported as part of culminating activity. Hence I am told in 1989, the very first one is that the production projects, performance projects, organizational projects. So whatever the configuration project can be carried out intensively, over a short period of time or extended over a few weeks or a full semester. They can be completed by students individually in a small group or as a class, and they can take place entirely within the confines of the classroom or can extend beyond the walls of the classroom into the community or with the other different forms of sources and so many other things. So in next slide that we have the incorporation projects work into the classroom. So project work, whether it is integrated into a content-based thematic unit or introduced as a special sequence of activity in a more traditional classroom, requires multiple stages of the development to succeed. Shefford and Stoller in 1995 proposed an 8-step sequence of activities for orchestrating project work in ESP classroom. The model has been fine-tuned after testing it in a variety of language classroom and the teacher training courses. So in next slide we have the 10-step sequence described in next slide. So please, can you change the slide? So this is the total steps, 10 steps project. That the very first step suggests that agree on a theme of the project. The second one is determine the final outcome. Third one is that the structure the project. Fourth one is the prepare student for the language demand of the of step 5. And the step 5 suggests that the gather information, and step 6 suggests that prepare student for the language demands of step 7, while step 7 suggests that compile and analyze information. Whatever information that you gather, you have to analyze it. And the number 8 suggests that prepare students for the language demands of step 7. Now step 9 suggests that the present final product, and 10 again suggests they evaluate the project. So after that, hello, change the slide, Sarfraz. Sarfraz, are you here? Hello. Okay. Now, okay, it's visible now. So developing a project in a language classroom. To understand the function of each proposed step, imagine a content-based ESP classroom focusing on American elections. The very first step that we have, the thematic unit, is structured so that an instructor and the student can explore various topics, the branches of the US government, the election process, political parties with their corresponding ideologies and platforms, and voting behaviors. What happened? Hello? Sarfraz? Sarfraz, the slides are not visible. Sarfraz, are you here? My God. Can you please answer? Hello?
Yes, please continue.
Okay, thank you. So the information on the above topics is introduced by means of reading from books, newspapers, and the news magazines, graphs and charts, videos, and the teacher-generated lectures and the note-taking activities, class discussions, and group work, and by joining different professional political parties. Okay, so in third point, we have to frame this discussion. It should be noted that the thematic unit is embodied in an integrated skill content based course with the following objects. So the objectives are the very first one is to encourage a student to use the language to learn something new about topics of interest. The second point is that to prepare a student to learn subject matter through English. The third point is that to expose a student to content from a variety of information sources to develop them, improve their academic language and the study skill. Number four is that to provide a student with contextualized resources for understanding language and content. Number fifth is that to stimulate the rigors of the academic courses in a sheltered environment. And number six is to promote students' self-reliance and engagement with learning. So in next slide, after okay, after being introduced to the theme unit and its most fundamental vocabulary and concept, the instructor introduced a semi-structured project that will be woven into class lesson and that will spend the length of the thematic unit. The next point is that to stimulate interest and a sense of ownership in the process, the instructor will work with the students to decide on the issue to be debated and the number and the types of political parties represented in the debate, the format of the debate, and the means for judging the debate. To move from the initial conception of the project to the actual debate, the instructor and the students uh, follow 10 steps. The very first step is that, can you please change the slide? Okay. The very first step suggests that student and the instructor agree on a theme for the project. So the theme is very important for their project. So they must be agree on single theme, or there can be multiple themes. So the very first point
Sadaf,
suggests. Yes, sir.
Sadaf, 9 more minutes, okay?
How many minutes?
9 more minutes.
Okay, sir. So, sir, should I just define the steps? I should I may not tell you everything about these things.
It's your presentation, it's your right. But I'm just telling you that you still have 9 minutes, okay?
Many slides are remaining. Okay, sir. I will. Okay, sir. I will just finish within 10 minutes. Okay. So the very first point is that the instructor gives his students an opportunity to shape the project and develop some sense of shared perspective and commitment. And while shaping the project together, students often find it useful to make reference to previous readings, videos, discussions, and classroom activities. Okay. So in next slide, please. So second step suggests that the students and the instructor agree the final outcome. So whatever they have suggested in previous slides, they have to finalize the what they have carried out the final outcome. So the very first point is that the first stage of the project work involves establishing a starting point. The second step entails defining an endpoint or final outcome. So second point is that student and the instructor consider the nature of the project, its objective, and the most appropriate means to eliminate the project. So please next slide. Okay, so step three suggests that the students and the instructor structure the project. After doing all these things, they have to structure their project. So they need something like they need to structure the body of the project, how they structure it, and the second thing that the questions that students should consider as follows: what information is needed to complete the project, how can that information be obtained, because these are the basic questions for making a project. Okay, how will the information once gathered be compiled and analyzed, what role does each student play in the evolution of the project, and who does what. Okay, so these are some basic questions that the both instructor and the student have to follow. So in number four step, Okay, so four steps suggest that the instructor prepares students for the language demands of information gathering. So, very first point that we hear it is the at this point that the instructor determines perhaps the consultation that the students the language demands of the information gathering is step 5 that I previously defined. So, the instructor can then plan language instruction activities to prepare students for information gathering tasks. So in number 5 step that we have student gather information. So by using different resources, they have to gather their information for making a project. So the very first point suggests that the having practiced the language skills and the strategy needed to gather information, students are now ready to collect information and organize it so that others on their team can make sense of it. So in number 5 step we have sixth step. Instructor prepares students for the language demands of the compiling and analyzing data. Fifth step suggests the gathering of information. Now the information that they gathered in step 5, they have to compile it, they have to organize it. After organizing it, they have to analyze it. So after successful gathering information, students are confronted with the challenges of organizing and synthesizing information that may have collected from the different sources and by different individuals. So number 7 step suggests that the students compile and analyze information. So how they do it with the assistance of the variety of organizational techniques, including graphic organizers, students compile and analyze information to identify data that are particularly relevant to the project. So in number 8 step suggests that yeah, instructor prepares students for the language demands. Can you please change the slide, Sarfraz? Okay. So number 8 suggests that instructor prepares students for the language demands of the presentation of the final product. After the compilation of the data, organization of the data, information collection, now they have their final look and they have to give presentation on that project. At this point, the development of the project instructor can bring in language improvement activities to help students succeed with the presentation of their final product. It may involve editing and revising written reports, letters, bulletin board, display text. In simple words, we can say that this is the proofreading, because whatever they have some kind of shortcomings, they can solve in this step. So in number 9 step, a student present final product, whatever they have what they have collected, they have to give their final product or the final project. So students are now ready to present the final outcome of their project, whatever they have collected. And in the American and in the case described here, the debate was in video tapped so that the student could later view their debate performance and they receive feedback from the instructor and their peers, so that they will suggest them if they have done better or not. So in number 10 and the final step, the students evaluate the project. How they can evaluate their project, although the students and the instructor alike often view the presentation of the final product as the last stage in the project work process. It is worthwhile to ask a student to reflect on the experience at the last and the final step. A student can be asked how they might proceed differently the next time, or what suggested they have for future project work endeavor. So they have to and they have to compare the step 9 and the step 10, because in 9 step, whatever they have some kind of shortcomings, they will complete that in step 10, and they can have a final look of the project. So in next slide, that is the conclusion of the my presentation. Content based instruction and the project will provide two means for making English language classroom more vibrant environment for learning and collaboration. Project work, however, need to be limited to content-based language classes. Number 3 suggests that one, language teachers in more traditional classroom can diversely instruction with an occasional project. And number 4th point suggests that the whether a project centers on the American election demography, peace education, syllabus designing, or the methodology, Students of the varying levels and the need can benefit from the empowering experience that results from the participation in the collaboration in a project. Number last point suggests that although project work may be easier to implement in second language setting, but it's not easy. It's very difficult. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you
you, sir.
very much, Sadaf, to manage your time. Right, so now I'm going to give my comment for the three presenters. Yeah, so I think the first presentation went well in terms of the looks, the PowerPoint, some keywords are highlighted, even though sentences are still written in full. That's not my preference. I do prefer just write the keywords. Yeah, but that's okay. The most important thing is that you allow the audience to focus on some words instead of requesting them to read the overall sentences. And the first paper, the characteristic of the first paper differs from the second and the third paper. Okay, so in the first paper, it has a lot of room for you to give comments, as most of the points are repeated, so you do have a lot of time to provide your own comments. And the second and third papers presented by Sarfaraz and Sadaf, they actually do share some things in common. Yeah, so Sadaf had some difficulties managing the time, as well as Sarfaraz actually. But you should have been able to take some advantages from Sarfaraz presentation, as some of the materials have been covered, yeah, but presented and discussed a little bit different for you. Okay, so for Sarfaraz, I think you made some progress as compared to the previous presentation in translation class, but you still spent too much time on many parts. So for example, where you were explaining about, if I'm not mistaken, like the activities from week 1 to week 12. This paper and set of papers, the paper that you and Sadaf are presenting are quite different from the paper that none presented. The two papers highly require a very good summarizing skills. Okay. So if you're not being careful as what you have done, you're going to spend so much time. Okay, so I'm going to paste what I can get from Google on summarizing skills. So let me put it on the chat room. So this is not the ultimate truth. They are not the ultimate guidance, but yeah, just some links which I hope can inspire you improve your summarizing skills. So back to Sarfaraz presentation. So hang on, where was I? Yeah, when you're presenting from week 1 to week 12, the way you explained it is that you you highlight what are present in the paper, and you give your own comments. So that's like double. Okay. A good summarization skill here is, yeah, sort of, this is what I'm going to explain right now, but it can be different from one paper to another, and there is no one right answer to this. So what I'm offering here is a model. Yeah, so Sarfaraz, sometime I exchange Sarfaraz and Sadaf, apologies for that. Okay, so Sarfaraz, when you're explaining the activities from week 1 to week 12, actually, you can divide it into two different roles, like teacher's role and student's roles. Okay, and what the task-based learning emphasized here is to minimize the role of the teachers and delegate them to students. Okay, so you don't need to spend so much time discussing what the teachers or the lecturers are doing, but just focus on the students. Okay, so what the students do here from week 1 is to week 12 is to plan, collect materials, analyze, reflect using a variety of techniques, okay, such as using questionnaires, using interview, and at the end they also evaluate. In some cases, this is the work of the teachers or the lecturers. Okay, so what task-based learning, so what the person or the actual author is explaining here is that you can actually make students more active by delegating some tasks which traditionally were carried out or implemented by teachers to students. Yeah. So the same techniques can be applied, yeah, by SADF. But this goes to all of you, not only the 3 presenters. So when we are presenting something, it is good that we read. The next level is that we understand, and if you want to go higher, you'll be able to give some comments, and then after that analyze or criticize. There's actually a lot of points where you can offer your criticism to the paper. So for instance, when SADF were presenting the chart, so it looks very small. I think in page, let me see. Yeah, because Sarfaraz was presenting the PowerPoint. What was it about? Sorry, I need to scroll back. Oh, developing a project in language classroom. Okay, so there are 10 steps. Yeah, and so that you can just go straight to the chart. You don't need to explain the background. Yeah, just go straight to the point. So this is an example of how we can summarize a material, because you will repeat the same point, actually. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
And if we want to criticize step 1, 2, and 3, so have a look at step 1, 2, and 3. Yeah. Step 1, agree on a theme for the project. Step 2, determine the final outcome. Step 3, structure the project. It seems to be quite straightforward, but when you apply in your class, in an actual class, this is not going to be as straightforward as it seems. Okay, you have a curriculum, and not all curriculum have this flexibility. Okay, so sometimes a curriculum is very strict, that the students need to be able to do this, and this. Yeah, but here you ask the student, yeah, agree on a theme for the project. Okay, yeah, that's still, I think that it's quite easy to do, but determine the final outcome, structure the project. This has a lot to negotiate with the students. Yeah, and that's one of the elements widely discussed in these 2 papers, Sarfaraz and SADF's, the paper that Sarfaraz and SADF were presented. When we apply this to our class, will we have time to do this? Yeah, will the students, will the negotiation with students end up in losing a lot of valuable time? Okay, so one way to how do I say, to make this work is to give them some options. So you don't come empty-handed. You give them some options, like in multiple choice, A, B, C, or D, or E. Just choose one, instead of asking them to think of a theme, determine what's the final outcome. So this is one of the strategies. Another challenge, so if you want to criticize step 1, 2, and 3, not this, but the overall steps, is that the soft skills required assumed that the students have acquired. So for example, designing a questionnaire, it's not very easy to design a questionnaire, especially for undergrad students. For master students or PhD students, or PhD, you don't take classes on PhD, I believe. You just go for research. For masters, for undergraduate students, perhaps they need to be taught first on how to design a questionnaire, how to do an interview, So this will be a burden for the particular teacher or lecturer who is teaching that particular subject, if he or she needs to teach the students on how to design the questionnaire, on how to do interview. So that will be a burden for him or her. So ideally, when you come with task-based project, try to assume that students are ready with the soft skills. Otherwise, you are going to spend a lot of time in the classroom teaching them how to do that. Okay. But for master students, I think this will be quite easy to do because you assume that all the research skills, summarizing skills, ethics, so they have acquired those soft skills in their undergraduate. Okay, so that's an assumption, even though in practice, well, sometimes we can still meet master students who are not ready for those soft skills. Yeah. But yeah, of course, you can browse internet. There are tips, for example, on summarizing, on improving your summarizing skills. The links that I have provided, I just did it by browsing. So I believe you can do better job than me. You will have more results. Yeah, so that's my comments. But overall, I see some progress from all the three presenters. But yeah, of course, yeah, I have to give my criticism as I did the first time. And then for Sarfaraz, I don't know. Every time I was hearing your voice, there's a lot of background noises behind you. So I apologize, but perhaps you were explaining some concept already, but I really didn't get that due to some background noises behind you. So perhaps next time, well, I think Hand is the only one presenting next time. So if you do a presentation, so make sure you are in a quiet room. If not in a quiet room, try to minimize the noise because the people who are presenting, no, it's not a network problem. Background noise behind you. I can hear people talking behind you. So yeah, if it is a network problem, I would not be able to hear you at all. Yeah. So I apologize if my criticism has been addressed previously by you, but I didn't hear that. Yeah. So yeah, that's all for today. And yeah, one more criticism for me is that please do try to manage your time better, because if this is always repeated, that I won't be able to clarify more points. I hope that I would have been able to do more, to comment on you more than this. I do hope that we can have a good discussion, but yeah. But next week, Hen is the only one presenting, so we do have a lot of time for ours. Okay. Right, so that's all I think for today and for your information. And also for this lesson, for our translation class, I believe that all of you are aware, but just to remind you that the instructions for the final term project is already available, yeah, on Google Classroom on the about this class document. Yeah, so have a careful look at the instructions. Yeah, and please anticipate there might be some works which or some research which you can do now instead of waiting. Yeah, instead of waiting until the very last moment. And I do believe that if you have spent some more time for this, yeah, you would have done better than what you just did. Okay, so please try to anticipate things. I have made everything transparent. Things are many, but time is short. But that is always the case. Yeah, that is the challenge, the part of your MA journey that you need to experience, and you need to the problems that you need to solve. All right, so I speak too much, I think. Yeah, the point is try to always anticipate things. Yeah, particularly I have made things transparent for you, the instructions. So yeah, spend some more time browsing on the internet on how to do things that you might not have known the answers. Great. Yeah, address your questions to me via email or Teams if you have any, as I have another meeting coming at 5. Okay, so thank you for attending today's session. Feel free to leave today's session. Okay, I'll see you next week. Oh, wait.